On June 12, 2025, tragedy struck just minutes after takeoff from Ahmedabad Airport. Air India Flight 171, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner carrying 242 souls, vanished from the skies, and the world was left stunned. In a devastating crash, 241 lives were lost, with only one survivor miraculously pulled from the wreckage. But that's not the whole story. This was no ordinary accident. As investigators scrambled to uncover what went wrong, strange questions began to surface. Why did the plane lose control so suddenly? Were there warning signs missed before the flight? And what dark secrets could be hidden in the final moments before the crash? This tragedy shook the nation and left a trail of heartbreak, but also mystery. And while this disaster echoes an earlier Flight 171 crash from decades ago, this incident is entirely separate, with its own story to tell. Today, we dive deep into what happened on that fateful day. What really caused the Dreamliner to fall from the sky? What unanswered questions remain, and could this crash have been prevented? Join me as we uncover the facts, the clues, and the mysteries behind Air India Flight 171's devastating crash. The Great Chronicles. The story of Air India Flight 171 begins long before the plane ever took off. This Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner was a modern aircraft, designed for safety and efficiency. On June 12, 2025, it was scheduled for an international flight from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick, a routine journey connecting two major cities. But that morning, something was different. Hours before departure, the Dreamliner experienced unexpected technical glitches. Maintenance teams scrambled to diagnose the problem, but the issue was elusive and difficult to pinpoint. What was really wrong with the aircraft? A mechanical fault, a software error, or something more sinister? These questions loomed over the crew as they prepared to take off. Yet, under pressure to maintain the schedule, the plane was cleared for departure. Witnesses on the ground recalled a normal takeoff, engines roaring, the aircraft lifting smoothly into the sky. But mere minutes later, tragedy struck. The plane suddenly lost control, spiraling downward toward a crowded neighborhood. Why did the aircraft crash so soon after takeoff? Were those early technical issues a warning that went unheeded? Or was there an unknown factor lurking beneath the surface? As investigators raced to piece together the truth, many questions remained. The search for answers continues. The investigation into Air India Flight 171's crash began almost immediately. Rescue teams rushed to the scene, but the devastation was overwhelming. Wreckage was scattered across a wide area near Ahmedabad Airport. Tragically, 241 lives were lost, with only a single survivor. Authorities quickly ruled out pilot error as the primary cause. Instead, they focused on mechanical failure or possible technical issues. One of the first priorities was locating the aircraft's black boxes, the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder. These devices hold vital clues, capturing the plane's performance and the pilot's last moments. As search teams worked through the debris, the world waited anxiously for answers. What had gone wrong so soon after takeoff? The questions weighed heavily on investigators and families alike. While the investigation unfolded, eyewitness accounts began to emerge. Many witnesses near the airport described a terrifying scene. Some reported seeing the Dreamliner wobbling in the air, struggling to maintain altitude. One airport worker said the plane's engines sounded uneven, almost like they were sputtering. Another described unusual sparks coming from the wing before the crash. These eyewitness testimonies added new layers to the mystery. Were the engines failing? Was there a fuel leak or fire? Could this explain why the plane went down so quickly after takeoff? Meanwhile, investigators focused on maintenance records. The Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner involved was a relatively modern aircraft, though not brand new, with no reported major defects. However, some documents hinted at unresolved technical issues that had been reported in the weeks before the crash. Could these ignored warnings have contributed to the disaster? Was there a failure in the airline's safety protocols or Boeing's quality control? Or was this an unavoidable accident, despite all precautions? As questions mounted, conspiracy theories began to circulate online. Some claimed the crash was no accident, suggesting sabotage or a secret cover-up. Others focused on the Dreamliner's advanced technology, wondering if it was too complex to be safe. But what really happened to Air India Flight 171? The truth remains buried deep within the wreckage and the shadows of doubt. When the black boxes were finally recovered, hope surged that they would unlock the mystery. These recorders store every second of the flight: speed, altitude, engine status, and cockpit conversations. But analyzing the data was no simple task. The violent crash had badly damaged one of the recorders, complicating efforts to retrieve usable information. Despite this, early analysis revealed sudden, unexpected fluctuations in engine thrust moments before impact. What triggered these rapid changes? Was it a mechanical breakdown, pilot response, or something else? The cockpit voice recorder painted a chilling picture. It captured alarms blaring, raised voices, and frantic commands as the crew fought desperately to control the failing aircraft. Yet these haunting sounds also raised difficult questions. Did the pilots have enough time to react? Were critical warnings missed before takeoff? As experts worked tirelessly to piece together the final moments, pressure mounted on Air India and Boeing to provide answers. Families and the world waited for the truth behind the tragedy. Investigators quickly zeroed in on the plane's engines, the Rolls-Royce Trent 1000. This engine model had faced issues before, with several Dreamliners experiencing malfunctions in recent months. Could a hidden flaw in the engine's design have triggered the catastrophic failure on Flight 171? Maintenance logs and flight records became critical evidence. The engines on this aircraft had undergone recent repairs, but investigators found that some replacement parts were faulty or lacked thorough testing. Was this a result of rushed maintenance to keep the plane in service? Or did problems in the supply chain lead to substandard components being installed? Whistleblowers inside the airline revealed internal warnings had been ignored. Complaints about engine vibrations and overheating were reportedly dismissed as minor issues. Was negligence or cost-cutting to blame for the disaster? These revelations sparked outrage from victims' families and aviation safety experts. Boeing and Rolls-Royce faced intense pressure. Both launched internal probes, while regulators reviewed safety certifications and maintenance procedures. The pressing question remained: was the crash of Flight 171 a preventable mechanical failure, or an unfortunate chain of errors beyond control? The answer would impact the future of commercial aviation, and hopefully save lives in the years to come. The unimaginable happened. Out of the wreckage of the Air India Flight 171 crash, there was one man who survived. His name is Vishwashkumar Ramesh. He was 40 years old, a businessman from Leicester, with a wife and young son. Mr. Ramesh was sitting in seat 11A on the London-bound Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner when the plane went down shortly after takeoff from Ahmedabad. He told reporters that moments after takeoff, the lights inside the aircraft began flickering. Within seconds, it felt as if the plane was stuck in the air. Then, the plane slammed into a building and exploded. Despite the chaos, Mr. Ramesh managed to unbuckle himself, push through an opening in the fuselage, and crawl out of the wreckage. He said no one could have escaped from the other side, as it had crashed into the building. He witnessed people around him perish, including flight attendants and passengers. For a moment, he feared he too would die. But when he opened his eyes and looked around, he realized he was alive. He still struggles to comprehend how he survived. Doctors treating him describe him as disoriented, with multiple injuries, but out of danger. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited him in hospital and expressed support to the victims' families. Mr. Ramesh's survival is a rare and extraordinary story amid this devastating tragedy. As investigations continue, his testimony may provide crucial insights into what happened during those final moments. The world watches, holding on to hope through his lone survival. As the investigation progressed, a surprising detail emerged. Just 1 month after the engine overhaul in March 2025, Air India suddenly increased this Boeing 787's insurance coverage by nearly 100 crore rupees. Why the sudden hike? Was the airline aware of hidden risks that hadn't been publicly disclosed? At the same time, regulators demanded a thorough review of pilot training and flight dispatcher records. Could human factors, fatigue, experience, or decision-making under pressure have played a role alongside mechanical issues? Investigators also uncovered troubling communication gaps between Air India and Boeing. Were critical warnings about the aircraft systems delayed or overlooked? This raised concerns about transparency and accountability within the aviation industry. With black box data still being analyzed by international experts, the investigation grew ever more complex. Each new detail hinted at a tangled web of mechanical faults, human errors, and corporate decisions. Was Flight 171's crash a tragic accident, or the inevitable result of a series of preventable mistakes? With so many lives lost, uncovering the truth became an urgent race against time. The crash investigation soon turned to the flight crew's crucial actions during those final, harrowing minutes. How did the pilots respond when the engine suddenly failed? Flight data showed rapid, desperate attempts to stabilize the aircraft. The captain and first officer worked in unison, but faced overwhelming challenges. Could their training truly prepare them for an emergency of this magnitude? Simulators covered engine failures, yet nothing could replicate the real-life intensity and chaos. Their communications with air traffic control were urgent and frantic. The crew declared an emergency and urgently requested permission to return to the airport. But with altitude rapidly dropping and control slipping away, every second was precious. What split-second decisions did the pilots make in those critical moments? Some evidence points to attempts to restart the failed engine. Others suggest that shutting it down was necessary to prevent catastrophic damage. The cockpit voice recorder captured tense, focused exchanges. Despite the stress, the crew maintained remarkable calm. Could clearer communication or swifter choices have changed the tragedy's course? Aviation experts continue to debate these questions, searching for answers. This tragedy highlights the immense pressures pilots face in split-second life or death decisions. It also raises vital questions about pilot training, cockpit protocols, and emergency procedures. The aftermath of Flight 171's crash revealed a tangled web of consequences far beyond the immediate tragedy. How did authorities and Air India respond to this devastating event? Air India, alongside the Indian government, launched massive rescue and recovery efforts. Emergency crews battled raging fires and unstable wreckage, working around the clock. But questions of accountability quickly surfaced. Was Air India responsible for maintenance lapses? Investigators meticulously examined maintenance logs and the aircraft's service history. Were inspections skipped or rushed on critical engine components? Meanwhile, grieving families faced the painful journey of mourning and searching for answers. Legal claims and compensation battles soon emerged. Could justice be served for the nearly 300 lives lost? And how would this tragedy reshape aviation safety standards in India and worldwide? International aviation authorities also stepped in. They called for stricter regulations and more vigilant oversight. Flight 171 became a catalyst for industry-wide change, forcing airlines to review and strengthen safety protocols. Could such a disaster be prevented with better safeguards? The legacy of Flight 171 stretched far beyond that tragic day. It challenged the global aviation community to learn, adapt, and work harder to avoid repeating history. The crash of Air India Flight 171 was a tragedy that shocked the world. But within the tragedy lies a powerful call for change. As investigations peel back the layers of mystery, we see the crucial need for stronger safety measures. Could improved maintenance, better training, and stricter oversight save lives in the future? The victims and their families deserve justice and answers. Their voices remind us that behind every statistic is a human story. Aviation must learn and adapt. Could the lessons from Flight 171 change how airlines operate worldwide? If you found this exploration insightful, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden stories behind headline events. Hit the notification bell to never miss an update. What do you think caused the crash? Was there more to the story than what we know? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching The Great Chronicles, where we uncover the mysteries others won't. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.